Hey, Ronit, how are you?
I'm doing great, Eric. How are you? It's so good to be here. I'm excited.
I'm doing fantastic. I have to admit to the listeners that I didn't have Ronit on my calendar and I almost blew this interview. But thankfully, Donovan texted me and I'm here at my desk and I'm ready to go. So here we are. So we saved what could have been a disaster.
Could have been a disaster.
Yes, and I would have had to apologize even more than I already have to Renit. Okay, so for those listeners who do not know Renit, she is a salon educator and author. She has over 30 years in the beauty industry, 17 years as the owner of Maxime Salon, six-time Best of Boston winner. She is a business leadership coach that teaches salon, spa, and rental suite owners how to take back control of their businesses. You're also the founder of Salon Cadence, a training company for owners to clarify goals, understand financials. What are financials, right? And build profitability. Profitability is what we all want. Her training systems are designed to attract viable talent, retain clients, build consistent profits, create freedom, and allow you to develop a $1 million mindset. I want I want to know what a $1 million mindset is. I have so many questions already, and we haven't even started. Okay, so why don't we start with this? Why don't we start with where you're from and how you got into this industry in the first place?
Well, where am I from? I was born in Israel, in Tel Aviv, and I travel to visit my America. This was my second time that I had a plan. I had a boyfriend at that time, and we both wanted to go to Hawaii and see how Hawaii looks like. And he was a surfer, so he always wanted to surf the North Shore. So here we go.
Yeah.
And we got to Hawaii, and 6 months later, we went back to LA, and I met my husband there.
Wait.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hold on a minute. 6 months later, you were in Hawaii for 6 months?
We were in Hawaii for 6 months. He
Oh
wanted
my
to,
gosh.
yeah. So basically, he surfed the waves, and I
Uh,
watched him surf the waves.
yeah.
I don't surf.
Right. And so you were bored out of your mind.
Not really. I mean, you cannot be bored out of your mind in Hawaii. At that age, you don't wake up for sunrise, but you definitely don't go to sleep at sunset.
No.
Life just begins at sunset. So
Yeah.
it was an epic part of my life. I didn't meet my husband in Hawaii, but we had a fantastic living for 6 months,
Okay.
and then back to LA. And
Okay.
now,
Okay. So this is the fascinating part because, and you skipped over it so gracefully, but you left Hawaii after 6 months with your boyfriend, and then you got married, but not to your boyfriend.
okay, so there I'm doing the fast forward thing
Sure.
because I was 20, no, I was 20 years, 20, almost 21 years old then,
Okay.
and I'm 58 in 1 week.
Okay.
So, hey, join the ride.
Right.
So I back to LA, lived in LA for about another 6 months, back to Israel. Um, when I was in LA, I met my future husband. So
Okay.
bye bye to the old boyfriend.
Right. Surfer.
Yeah, we date. I did a double dating for a little bit. I don't recommend it.
A double
It's
dating. I like that.
it's high maintenance, so I don't recommend it to anyone. But it was really short time. Went back home to Israel, and I was very lucky to become a flight attendant.
Hmm.
And so, and for the next year, my usual once a month flight is to New York City, where I'm going about to date my future husband at least once a month.
Okay.
So we meet in Manhattan. We have a fabulous 3 to 4 days. I go back home, fly all over the world as a flight attendant,
Yeah.
And that's it. And then one day, my husband Bill, which we've been married for 36 years, and he proposed. And I said, let me think about it. But inside, I was like, yes.
Oh, so you were playing a little bit hard to get, or you were just cautious,
I was doing what my mom always taught me to do.
which is
Never say yes immediately,
ah,
you know?
interesting.
Yeah. So I listened. And then, married, had children at the age, two children by the age of 24 and
Hold on, I have to know. So when you said to Bill, your now husband of 38 years, when you said to him, "I'm gonna have to think about it," how did he react to that?
he looked at me like, what? You have to think about that?
What do you have to think about? Look at me.
I know. I said to him, it was all like you said. It was like part of like don't say yes very quickly.
Okay.
Well, you live your whole life in one place. I have my career in front of me. I know. I always knew what I wanted to do, and it's funny because I've always imagined myself living in New York City, and it was happening. That whole visualization of what's going to happen is happening. And so it's a lot to take, right? You're only 21 and a little bit, and you have your whole life back there, and now you're saying, okay, let me think about it. That means packing up and moving for a
Yeah.
while.
Oh yeah.
So,
It's
yeah.
very exciting though.
It was. In my heart, I was like, yes, that's what I want.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
That's amazing. Okay. Okay. So keep going. So you're a flight attendant, and by the way, my mother was a flight attendant for many, many, many years.
yeah.
So now I was so young back then, I don't really remember a whole lot, but I remember flying a lot because you get all these benefits, right, from the airline that you're on. You fly
You
for
can fly
free.
everywhere.
Yeah, I remember flying first class, and we didn't have to pay for it. And then I remember when she stopped working for the airlines, all of a sudden we had to fly coach. And as like a 9-year-old, I'm like, what is
What is
this?
that?
This seat's too small.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you go business or first class, you never go back.
Yeah, right. Unless you run out of money or you get it free. Okay, so all right. So you're married to Bill now. You're living in New York City. You're still a flight attendant?
No.
Okay.
I actually went to, so what you can do when you fly for El Al Airlines back in the days, you can take a leave of absence and then you can come back. So I had my uniforms. I took it. I even had my luggage with me. And, you just never know. I wasn't thinking this is it. I was always thinking, well, you never know. I might go back. It might not work. Who knows? But, 6 months later, we were married. So it didn't take a long time. I don't recommend they're out there for all the listeners to get married very quickly. It's definitely was a risk. We are 37, almost 37 years married, so it worked for us. But I
Right.
moved quick. We
Yeah.
both did. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay. And so how did you work your way to the salon industry?
my salon industry was, and by the way, I just had interviewed by Chris Barron a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't tell him that part about being a flight attendant. I don't know how I left it behind, but when I always loved the fashion industry. One of my best friend loved so much shoes. She was obsessed about shoes. And at that time, I wasn't obsessed about shoes, but I loved shoes. And she really wanted to go to learn how to make shoes. And she enrolled herself into Prada, Italy, and literally went for a whole summer and studied shoes. And I thought it was so cool. I was in high school, and but I always loved hair. I was mesmerized by hair. I think maybe really because my father used to take me to the barber shop, and he always used to say to the barber shop, à la garçon, which basically means cut our hair short, like a boy. And so I always
Interesting.
had my hair cut really short. I had a pixie short hair. And I think I was traumatized for years about that. So that I think that got me into hair. But I was really in love with color. So I was very lucky. I was working for while I was going to school as a just a part-time job for a small salon in Israel, and he was my very first amazing mentor. He had so much belief in me, and he ended up sending me to L'Oreal School of Color, and I've learned how to balayage. Came back, I wasn't really working because I was a student at school, but I did everything I can possibly do at the salon, and Eric, you fall in love with the vibe. There's
Hmm.
nothing like being in a high vibe. Imagine to yourself,
Hmm.
high vibe salon, people coming, people going, excellent music, dancing, and color. It was amazing. So that's how I got into it. I had a fabulous mentor and graduated from school. Um, and, a couple years later, that's Hawaii. And that's how I
Hmm.
started this industry. But when I moved to America, got married, and I didn't know if that's what I really wanted to do, is to go here. Everything was different here, so I wasn't feeling comfortable about it. And I said, all right, well, maybe I should go to interior design school. And as I enrolled into New Haven, Connecticut interior design school, and that's when I got pregnant. And then
Ah,
boom,
boom.
2 years later, 2 years later, two amazing children,
Awesome.
one amazing husband.
Hmm.
And here we go. What do I do now?
Right. Oh, very good. And
So,
so and so when you answered that question, was hair the answer?
well, my dream, when I envision myself, I always envision myself with high stiletto heels, a briefcase, a businesswoman,
Okay.
and I always envision myself as helping women. That was
Okay.
always my dream back. If we go even further back into my family life, um, I grew up in a house that had a lot of fighting. My
Mm.
my mom and my dad, they were not getting along. They were
Mm.
married for 18 years, had 3 children, but they were constantly fighting about money and about kids and all of that. And in the Jewish religion back then, if you get married, the wife can never get a divorce unless the husband says it's okay.
Mm.
I give you the certification.
Mm.
And you have to have a rabbi to witness that.
Okay.
So I don't know how familiar you are with that, but back then, there was my father never let my mom get a divorce. So when
Mm.
she finally had an opportunity to, one split second when he said yes, the lawyer said, "Take it." But he said something like that. He said, "Well, I'll give you a divorce, all right, but I keep my brother, the little one, 4 years old then, and you can take the girls."
Oh.
And the
Hmm.
lawyer said, "Do it. Get your freedom, and we'll win in court afterwards."
Custody. Win
Custody.
custody of some kind, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that never happened. So you can only imagine the next few years how life has been for everyone. It's been very difficult for my
Mm.
mom and to grow like this. And so at some point, I said to myself, this should never, ever happen
No.
to any woman to be in a place where she have to choose between freedom or children.
Yeah.
And
Now,
so,
now, no, I have to know, was she able to see your brother, her son, ever?
yes, yes, you know,
Okay.
all the visitation rights, all of
Okay.
that.
S-
And fast forward years later, everyone is fine. Everybody made out.
Okay.
You know, it's all good. A lot of apologies, a lot of things that took rivers and lakes and waters, you know, but we all good. And you know, I think that a lot of good things happen from it. I've learned later in life that that shaped me to be who I am today.
Hmm.
And back then, I already said to myself, my mission in life is to help women to become wealthy and independent, and they don't have to rely on anyone to make that happen. So everything that I've done in my life was with that in mind all the time. So fast forward now, um, that's I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to own anything that will have an impact on people's life and women particularly. So through hair, and if I had to take myself back, you know how you always ask yourself, would you change anything? And I will tell you the one thing I will never change, other than having children and husband, is having the hair industry help me achieve that dream. Because if it wasn't for that, I don't know what I would do today.
Hmm.
So that's, I said to myself, I loved hair so much. I love fashion so much. I have to learn how to do hair in America. So I enrolled into Vidal Sassoon, and I got a great job on Newberry Street in Boston. And I've learned how amazing hair in America is,
Hmm.
and the life of a salon. And it was just magic.
Hmm.
So that's how I started back into the hair business. But I did know that at one point I'm going to own my own company. That's what I wanted, and that was the beginning of it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Amazing. All right. So you had these two salons? No, no, no. So
yeah,
Maxime
yeah,
and you've opened Salon Cadence, which is your educational
yeah.
company, right? And so you're really achieving this dream. Sounds like a lifelong dream of helping women, particularly, but people within the salon industry achieve success. And so you've written a book. It's called Profit First for Salons, and you've got other educational resources. So why don't we start with actually, before we go into that, and I definitely want to go into that, you mentioned your mentor. And I'm a big fan of the whole idea of the mentor. Um, your mentor, I think you said he was the owner of the salon, the first salon that you were working in, and he helped you get into beauty school.
Yeah.
Have you had other mentors, or have you been a mentor to other individuals?
Oh yes, absolutely. Many mentors. You know, there's a difference between a coach and a mentor.
What is the difference?
A mentor is somebody who had experience going through a journey, the same journey that they mentor others. Okay, a coach not necessarily went through that journey. Okay, so but they coaching other people. So a mentor is almost as a mix of consultancy, advisory, coaching, but had the experience to go through it. So you know, and bringing the best of their mentees to achieve their journey.
Hmm.
So that's there's a difference between those two, and
Hmm.
you learn that, you know. So we, and I think that was the question you asked me, right?
Hmm.
What's the
Yeah.
difference? And if did I have other mentors? Nonstop, all mentors, great mentors. When I started my business, I mean, I actually own six businesses. Two of them we don't want to talk about it. It's like a huge book about what not to do. But the other is an evolution. You learn and you get better on everything you learn. You know, there's mentors are really people that are voting for you. and they're here to help you grow, and they have the experience of the good and the bad and the ugly, and let you make a decision. So they help you become a decision maker, and that's it. So yeah, many mentors over the years. I mean, mentors don't have to be live people. They can be books,
Yeah,
authors.
it's a
They
good
can,
point.
they're so.
Yeah,
And
it's a good
being a
point.
mentor to others is, oh my God, I just love it so much.
Okay, so let's talk about your education. Let's first go into your book. When did you write this book? When did you publish the book?
So remember, we talk a little bit about the Airstream.
Hmm.
When you know, the book is a derivative from a very famous book called Profit First. And Profit First was written by Mike Michalowicz, bestseller. And Mike Michalowicz did not invent that system, but created a cash flow system, and published it. And it wasn't until I read his first book that had a little segment of that book that because for years I ran salons and I wasn't profitable. I mean, I was a little bit profitable. I had 5% profit, 10% profit, but who wants to work their ass off to get to be a 5% or 10% profitable? There were times that I just felt like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why do I own a salon? Is this really what it's all hyped to be? And and I knew that I had so many coaches, I had so many mentors. I was an education junkie. I've learned for so many amazing mentors in the industry, probably everyone. But no matter what I did, and they were fabulous. They have helped me elevate so much. But no matter what I did, Eric, I never pulled the paycheck that I wanted. There were times where I missed my children's birthdays.
Mm.
There was a time in my book on chapter two, for anybody that has read my book know that story, where I showed up to a huddle at the salon knowing that I'm on my way to Boston to see my daughter's audition to the Philharmonics, to the Conservatory cello first edition. And I completely forgot about it
Mm.
because I got swept away with things that are happening in the salon. We talked about it a couple, you know, 20 minutes ago. And so, things like that makes you think, is why I'm doing it for. You're not making the money that you want. You're going on vacation, so you work your bum off a week before that. You come back, you work another crazy week afterwards, and the whole time you're sitting on the beach with a martini, or pina colada, you're thinking about your people at the salon.
Right.
All right, so
Yep.
it's like, well, what kind of life is that? That's not what I wanted. I wanted to be those stilettos, remember? I wanted to be in a place where I make other people's life become a dream. I mean, that dream become reality. Literally, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. you
Hmm.
know? And so I just said, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing something wrong. So I stepped out of the industry and I looked to see what successful people are doing that I'm not doing. And what I found out, sadly but truly, that 70% of small businesses don't make it past the 5 years. And
Hmm.
25% live like me, paycheck to paycheck. And only 5% are really thriving. So I said, this is not where I want to be. So I've studied what other people are doing and read that little book that I was telling you and brought it to the salon. And I promised myself that if I don't turn things around, I'm done. I'm going to go do something else and help women to achieve in a different way. And so that's it. And once I did, and the needle went up so quickly, I'm no fluff, it did. And so that was a pivot, a big pivot to see that us entrepreneurs can change the world for ourselves, and we should.
Okay, so amazing story. I love it. I'm on the edge of my seat. So what did you do?
I ate a lot of ice cream.
What did you do? What changes did you make in the salon
Um,
that moved the needle from one side of the scale all the way to the side that you wanted the needle to be on?
I did three things. I did a lot more than three things, you know.
Well, we could talk about three
Well,
things.
let's talk about the three things. Number one, I asked myself the most important question. And you ask me who is your mentor? Well, Oprah is one of them. And she says something very important. She says, know what you want. Most people don't know what they want. So number one, you take yourself out of the equation, out of your normal routine. You can even lock yourself in the bathroom for hours, I don't care. But learn what is it that you want. Like dream it. Close your eyes, write, and say, what do you want? How much money do you want to make every year? And most important, what is that money going to do for you? And so the minute that you start getting clarity of how you want to live your life, in what way you want to show up as a mother, as a sister, as a daughter, as a leader, then I want you to dream about what do you want the company to do. Now, I don't want you to look at the salon as a salon or a shop. You got to look at it as a company, and you have to answer, what are you promising your team, and what are you promising your community? What do you want this company to do for those three entities? So I've learned that first you got to get really clear on that. The second thing you need to do is to find out, once you know how financially what you want to bring, what that money is going to do for you, now you have to dream, to ask your staff. Same question. What do you want? If you could have the life that you want, if you can work the perfect work month and the perfect year, what would it look like in terms of personally, financially, and professionally? How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself with stilettos in a briefcase? And then once you understand that, now you have to take something super important. You need to learn your numbers. Your first language has to be love. The second language has to be numbers. And now you have to take your staff dreams, your dreams, your family dreams, and merge them all together to a one shared vision. Take that financial that you've learned and create the cash flow and the blueprint financially to make it happen. Now, those are the three things that I've learned. And it took me a while to get it, to understand it, because I thought I was the dumbest person when it comes to numbers. Literally, I'm 35% dyslexia, and math was never my thing. But you know what? I've learned these were all excuses because I was really afraid of numbers. And I said to myself, if I don't do something different and I'll continue doing what I'm doing, then I'll miss another cello audition or another birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And so I committed to do the work, all in, all in.
And that's really what it boils down to, is work. It comes down to putting in the time, putting in the work, putting in the time doing things that are unnatural and maybe uncomfortable. And you mentioned numbers, and you admit that you are not naturally a numbers person. And in order to manifest all of these goals and these dreams that you're talking about, you need to try to become a numbers person, right?
You have to.
And maybe, I don't even want to call it a numbers person. It's just somebody who sits there and pays enough attention to the numbers that it guides your decisions. And those better decisions are going to lead towards the salon being more profitable, right?
Absolutely. And in turns, when you do that, then your staff, which we look at what we do as leaders in the salon or in any business, doesn't have to be the salon. When I said 70% are not successful, I'm talking about small business generally.
Yeah.
So we have the tendency to do this. Let me get busy. Let me get busy, 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 busy. Let me book, 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 book. Let me squeeze, 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 squeeze. And so when we hire another crew member, what do? Let's get them busy. Busy, 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 busy. So before you know it, we create chicken running with no heads, just like us. We create mini us. And so instead of thinking like that, we got to think smarter. We got to think what kind of how much you got to think from the top and reverse engineer it to where you are. And I will assure everyone that listening to us, if you get over your fear about numbers and you learn everything you need to know about numbers, it's the most sexiest language there is out there. And you become super confident and you finally can operate from a decision making based on knowledge and facts and not based on guessing. So when I've learned the profit first method, the cash flow method, and I implemented that, then not only that I was able to be generate money, because we all know how to do it, we all know how to make money, but I was able to multiply my earnings and teach how to multiply it. And I think that that's something we don't give ourselves credit enough, Eric. We have to go to school or high academy or become the master of whatever, and that's authority. No, you can learn all of that without doing any of the highest education.
Right. Totally agree. It's kind of a common sense part of math. I mean, as far as math is concerned, it's simple stuff, right? You're adding and you're subtracting. That's 95% of it, right? So it's not sophisticated math. It's just getting in there and working with the numbers, putting the time into figuring out what the numbers are, and writing them down, and then realizing where the problem is, because the numbers are going to show you where the problem is, right? If you're not charging enough for a treatment, the treatment has certain expenses to it, whether it's the amount of product that you have to buy and use or the amount of time that you need to spend doing the treatment. Those are expenses that go into it, and you need to make sure that you're charging enough so that you're actually spending that hour and you're getting something for it.
Totally agree with that. It's funny because I think as leaders or as influencers or as mentors, which I love, our duty is to educate. And it's our responsibility. And for anyone that wants to maximize their full potential they have to learn that what we sell is time. Yeah, of course, we sell services, but we sell time. So you have to say to yourself, for everybody who doesn't want to work more than 50 hours, but they want to make 150 or $200,000 a year, is it enough? Is that what you want to do? And if so, remember that you don't have to work hours and hours and hours just to make a little bit of money. You can really build your life and the financial according to exactly what you want to make in a week, in a 2 weeks, in a 3 weeks. And you can actually take 6 weeks vacation and get paid for it, even if you're working by yourself. And so, like you said, I love what you guys have on your website. How brilliant is that? The profit center and calculate your profit. You're
Hmm.
already educating somebody to think within profit and not to think about money generation. So
Right.
brilliant.
Right. Yeah, Ronit is mentioning on salonrepublic.com that we have a financial calculator on there. Very simple, obviously, because um, we're communicating with all different kinds of beauty professionals, so it's not perfect, but it breaks it down generally.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a training system. You run the Salon Cadence company, a training company, and again, the intro that I gave you was that the goal of Salon Cadence is to help salon owners clarify their goals, understand financials, and build profitability. And your training systems are designed to attract viable talent, retain clients, build consistent profits, create freedom, and allow you to develop a $1 million mindset. So let's talk about the $1 million mindset. What is that? Is that is that going from I'm not even going to try to guess. You just tell me how you define $1 million mindset.
Um, well, so let's start that Salon Cadence is a teaching and training mentoring company. It's actually a global network community that we value benchmarks. You know, we're transforming salons and spa owners to think bigger, aiming for seven figures and beyond. So we're really teaching people how not to think small, how to think bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and why. You know, I mean, when you look, I don't know, I think after COVID, so many new coaches were born.
Yes.
You know, that it's a phenomenal, you know, it just happened suddenly. And, but I really believe that you really got to walk the talk. You really do. And so, and for us, that's what we do. When you're going to see many marketing messaging out there saying, oh, become a six-figure stylist or become a six-figure owner, become a seven-figure, an eight-figure. Well, you know, there's a reason for all of that. Yes, it's sexy and it's a great messaging, but there's also become this, but how much do you keep when you go home? You know, that's
Right.
important.
Right.
And is that enough? Is six figures enough? If you're a salon owner, you must know that if you're going to have five or six staff members, six figures is not enough. And it's a simple math to think about it. You know, if you're a salon owner and you have 10 and 20 employees, you have to be operating in the high multiply seven figures.
Yeah.
But in order to get from high six to seven, you have to think like $1 million mindset. And what I mean by that is you can't think like a producer. You know, you got to think about the future. You got to think about where you want to go. And you got to operate as if you were there now. Otherwise, you're going to continue trying to catch the ball, trying to catch the profit. So in order, and then I'll give you an example. And you know, if you know that you need to make $1.5 million or $5.5 million company, you have to think about, well, if I ran a $2 million company, what would that company needs to have to operate in that?
Mm-hmm.
Is it 10 staff members? Is it three administrations? Is it an operation manager? What is it? And now what would be the cost from that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you now reverse engineer to where you are.
Yeah.
And now you have a blueprint how to get there, right?
Yeah. There you go.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't want to complicate it. I know it might be too much, but to
No,
think
it's
like $1 million mean like why you want to make what you're making and um, what is it that you need to do to get there
mm-hmm.
and enjoy the ride while you're in that ride.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and the value of reverse engineering is also not just identifying a vision, a goal, something, some place you want to get, a destination, and then working backwards in order to figure out how to get there. Of course, working all the way backwards to figuring out, okay, what am I going to do today for the rest of today to get to tomorrow, to get to next month, and so on and so forth. Not only to
I
do that,
love that.
but it's also to really pressure test, is that what I want? Because I think most people, if you ask them, what do you want? Where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years or whatever? And they might say, I want to be in stilettos. I want to be on, riding in first class. I want to have this big salon bustling or whatever. I want to have a bunch of staff who all love me and call me leader, call me boss or whatever,
Yeah.
right? That's what I want. But then when you reverse engineer from then all the way backwards to now, you may realize, at least if you're honest with yourself, you may realize, maybe that sounds pretty good, but I don't like anything that I just thought about between now and then. I don't want it to be a leader who is held accountable to every single tiny thing that happens this long. I don't want to be the one that people go to when there's problems. I don't want to be the one when there's a crazy client who's done something bad
Yeah.
that I'm the buck stops with me. I don't want the buck to stop with me. So I think that's the other value to that. And as much as this podcast is about helping beauty professionals be happy and successful, there's lots of different versions of happy and success. It doesn't have to be owning a salon with a staff of 5, 10, 20 people. It could be, an independent. It could be, you and your best friend working in a salon together, doing the types of clients you love and all that.
Yeah.
So I think it's the reverse engineering, the reaching out into a vision or into a dream and then working backwards on the nuts and bolts is also good for that reason.
100%. But that's where it starts. It starts where, what do you want for your life? You don't have to have that big dream, What if you just want to work, as a solo? And how can you maximize for your time? And it's exactly what you said. You have to know exactly what you want. And I think that's what we do best at Salon Cadence is we really go into clarity and mindset work. That's pretty much 70% of what we do. It's like really identify, well, what do you want out of your life? And help you bridge to get that. Yeah.
And I'm curious, when you do that, within your Salon Cadence process, is that you speaking to a Salon Cadence beauty professional and just you speaking with them, giving them that kind of, it's really mentorship and guidance one-on-one? Or you said it was a network. Is it groups of people? How does that work?
Yeah, so we wrote the book Profit First for Salon, my husband and I, when we were in the Airstream. And
And I'm sorry, pause. So the listeners didn't get the Airstream story, if you remember. That was you and I rapping out before we started recording. So listeners, if you're confused every time she says Airstream, you're going to get the story at the end of this episode because it was a fascinating one. And so we are going to get back to it. But sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead. You and your husband.
Yeah, and it is a fun story, Eric. It really
I
is.
know. I
Back
loved this
then,
story.
we didn't plan it, but it just happened. So we are a teaching and training company. We are a network of mentors and experts from many industry. It doesn't have to be only the hair industry. And these are people who went through running companies, solopreneurs or multi-million dollars companies that exit or still own, some salon owners that have done really well. And what they want to do is help now. So we're mentors. We are about 10 mentors, and I wrote the Salon with my husband. Profit First for Salon, which is the financial component, the cash flow system, and then the Salon Cadence method. And as it's a global company, so we have mentees from all over the world. It's a big community, and we work together and help the mentees implement the method in order to get to that place that they need to get. So it's a journey of anywhere between 3 to 7 years with us, helping you bridge to that place that you need to be. And so we do it virtually, and we meet 4 times a year, and we work together. It's awesome. So
Very
there's
interesting.
the mentors, there's the mentees, and then there's some experts that are specializing in social media management, communication, leadership, all the things that is. I really built it for a single mother originally because
Interesting.
of my story with my mother,
Hmm.
and so that's how Salon Cadence was born.
All right. So, with all of the mentees that you've had, what would you say are like the top one or two consistent issues that are coming to the fore that you need to help your mentees with? In other words, um, what are the common areas where you find yourself trying to improve their businesses just right out of the gate?
Um, the commonality between everyone is that everyone wants to expand. They want to contribute to their staff. They want their staff to be extremely successful. It's not about them. They want to have a big impact in their communities. They want to help, but they also want to be profitable. And they're exhausted. They're tired. They don't have the time that they want to do all those things. They'd love to take their team for retreats. They love to take them for many education. They want to give them wellness support. Um, they have a hard time finding the right people. That's what they say, but there's so many great people everywhere. And they don't know. They just don't know what they don't know. They don't know how to go from here to here and then from here to here. And you said it, Eric. You said some people say, "Oh, I want to open many locations and I want to have so much staff that love me, blah blah blah.
I want to do retreats.
I
I
want
want
to
to do all
do,
these
yeah, I
things.
want to do all
Yes.
those things." But you know what? At the end of the day, is you have to ask you, why do you want to do all those things? How is that going to give your life what you want, and how is that going to serve your staff? Then you have to learn everything about the numbers, because you know what, Eric? You can do all of those things. It's extremely possible. But you cannot do it alone, Eric. At the end of the day, you have to have a great mentor
Yeah, and
to help
and
you.
a lot of these things are they're expensive to do. So you can't just. It kind of reminds me. I'm sure some of the listeners, and you have watched the WeWork documentary. Not that it wasn't a docu.
Oh,
It
the
was
one
what
that,
docu-series, docudrama
yes,
or whatever,
yeah,
right? On what HBO or Netflix or something.
yeah.
And Adam Newman, he had all these grand visions and did all these wild things. Like they did this thing called summer camp, which is kind of one of these retreats, and they flew everybody there, and he spent tens of millions of dollars. And by the way, I remember when they were doing this, and I remember thinking, how the hell are they paying for all this?
Mm.
Because it's super cool. He was getting all sorts of positive press. Even his investors were like, oh, it's so great because he's doing this. Sure enough, fast forward, and they went broke because he was doing all these things and it didn't make any financial sense. So some things could be really awesome, but they just make no sense from a financial standpoint, right? And so at a certain point, the proverbial and quite annoying rubber meets the road, right? And that is kind of the nature of life, is that
Yeah.
certain things need to make sense.
Well, I think like you said, he had a dream. He just didn't have the proper guidance. You hear a lot about those stories. We never hear the stories behind what really happens, right? We just hear the good fluffy story, even in the documentary. But you're right. You just have to know that there's a price for everything. Also with time, and inside inside of you. How much do you want to spend? What's wrong with just you know not opening multiple location? It's just what you really want. I think, who was it? Sophia Amoruso, Nasty Girl, the founder of Nasty
Oh,
Girl. I don't
yes.
know if you remember her story.
Yeah.
She became a billionaire so quickly, but lost her company so quickly.
On paper, she was a billionaire, yes, because Nasty Girl, it was a clothing company, right?
Yeah, the consignment clothing company.
Right. And she did a lot of very flashy things, kind of in a similar way as Adam Newman. She got a lot of press, a lot of publicity. She was on the cover of magazines and sorts of other things. But the business didn't support all the fancy things that she was doing, the same way that Adam Newman's business didn't support all the fancy things that he was doing.
Yeah, it's exactly. She was bought out by an equity company that, if you listen to her story, she basically said, I didn't know how to hire people. I didn't know how to work with people. I was told that this is what I need to do. So I sold as much as I can, which she did very great. But, you know,
Yeah.
so,
So,
but yes,
so, so you help people connect the dots, and when the rubber meets the road with their salon, whether it be a studio or a salon with a staff. And I mean, are you going through the numbers line by line with them?
we do. We are compensated of we literally go into their books and find out where there is bleeds. When you implement the profit, so we do the work with them. This is not go watch and go do it on your own.
Okay.
We have a dedicated mentors that work and facilitate the method, and we implement profit first for Salon's cash flow,
Hmm.
which is amazing because we teach them how to think differently with the numbers.
Hmm.
We make them make decision based on knowledge of numbers, and we teach them, and it takes time. Nothing good comes quickly.
Hmm.
But we typically find anywhere between 5 to 10% shaving or profit within the very first 6 months.
Okay.
And
Very good.
so, yeah, yeah,
And and I imagine that that the salon owner is they have to start doing things a little differently. They might need to implement some policies, for example. They might need to put boundaries around certain parts of their salon that maybe didn't have them before.
yeah,
Whether it's, with the beauty professional, maybe if they have a team, maybe it's with the team members, maybe it's with the clients, right? And in the last 3 or 4 years, kind of post-COVID, the industry as a whole has been trying to implement some boundaries
yes,
because clients have gotten to the point where they think it's okay to not show up for an appointment, right? And all of a sudden there's a lot of discussion around kind of no-show fees and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
um, Give us an example of some of the specific areas in the salons that are seeing success in the ways that you're getting the success. Is it pricing? Is it no-show fees? Is it pre-booking? Things like that.
Everything that you said is a bleed if it doesn't get turn around. I think the most important thing that I see. So let's talk about two people. One is independent and a sweet, renter, or you know, how can we help them? Well, for them, we help them understand the numbers to the T, because they can make so much, they can maximize on the profit and the margin so much by just learning from the numbers, and educate them what the pricing should be for them based on what they want to bring, based on what they want to do with that money. Period.com.
Okay.
And so for them, we have a hands-on, uh, network mastermind that we literally work on their numbers all the time. We meet twice a month, and we share Zoom, and they become unafraid of sharing their knowledge about numbers, and we help them make decisions based on they becoming confident with that. I love it. I love it because it's a game changer for them. And I love seeing the what? This is so simple. Let me do it. Now, when you ask me for them, I would say for them, it's all about knowing how much they want to make, bringing that to pricing, and what the pricing needs to be based on their cost per hour. What does it cost them to be in business? And based on how much money they want to make. And then and we teach them about time standards. We also teach them that they cannot do things on their own, so they have to hire an external team. They cannot
Like an
be,
accountant.
well, they cannot be everything. Nobody can. They need to have somebody to help them in marketing. We need to have somebody um, that can help them with their site, maximize
Website.
on their traffic. And we need to help them. They need a personal assistant. Let me call the kindergarten. Let me call my teacher. Call the kid's babysitter. They cannot do it alone. You cannot do it alone if you want to get a certain amount of success. So external team, and like you said, a good bookkeeper, a good CPA. It's a small team, but you need it. So that's for them. And the Profit First for Salon, the book, we just go chapter by chapter. So we teach it over and over and over and over and over again. For salon owners, it's a bit more complex, because now you are responsible on so many more, and opportunities that what is your team opportunity is. So again, it's understanding, like you said, what happens when cancellations. There is no such a thing as cancellations. If somebody canceled, there has to be a charge for that. Eric, you probably know that. So specific things like that, stops the bleeds, time standards, time standards. And it's very well known statistically that people leave for three important reasons. One is they become stagnant and they don't feel like they can grow and expand mentally, professionally. And the second reason why people leave is because they're not making enough money. They just can't afford the life that they want. And the third thing is they're looking for community. They want community. So those are the three things I think, if you build it from the beginning and you shared your vision, and that's what we work on with them, then you grow. And you can grow as much, as much as you want, to the place that you want to grow. So that's what we work on the most. We help with recruiting the right people, how to build compensation plan, how to base your compensation plan based on performance. That's what, we help. And I think it all comes down to, what does it cost you per hour? Not average ticket, but per hour to be in business. And then what is the profit that you're looking on? And then you add that to the top. That's really the quick formula, Eric.
Yep.
And then, you know, Now you're helping them grow through leadership, through scaling. And at one point, Eric, we helped them get out from behind a chair completely, 100%, and really become the founder of their company, their visionary. That's what we focus the whole journey on.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so for somebody who wants more information, what is the best place for them to go?
They can go to Salon Cadence, at Salon Cadence Instagram. They can go to our website, saloncadence.com.
Okay.
They can just email us.
What's the email?
They can even email me.
What's your email?
Hello at ronitenos.com if they have any questions.
RonitEnos.com. Okay. Do you have any hair horror stories? And this could be a horror
Yeah, you want
story
to hear
from
it?
your salons. Yeah, let's hear
Okay.
it.
Okay. I'm open. This is my third month that I'm open. On the first,
At Maxime Salon in
at my,
Boston.
yeah,
Okay.
first month that I'm open, and it was right after September 11 that I opened up, 2 weeks after, and
Perfect timing.
perfect timing, exactly. This lovely, beautiful blonde walks into the salon, and I'm like, wow, I'm so excited. I'm gonna make her look stunning. That's all I wanted to do.
Hmm.
And she sits down in my chair. And at that point, I didn't have no assistant. I was by myself. I wear all the hats, right? And I go to the back room and I mix this color. And she tells me I want my base done too. Like she wants to be high lifted, double blonde. So I said, okay, no problem. So I pick up I'm so excited. This is like my first month. I mix the color and I look at the color in the bowl and I'm like, wow, that looks kind of goldyish. I don't remember being a goldyish, but you know what? It's probably oxidized.
Okay.
And I mix the color, I put the base on the color, I do the highlights, all thing. And as it's processing, and I'm thinking, I say, wow, it's funny how the color looks like it's got a hue of pink to it. But you know what? I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm going to keep going. And boy, do you know it. I wash the hair, and the hair is pink. And I'm sure we all
Rosé
have the same.
champagne. She didn't ask for rosé champagne, did she?
Never ask for that bubbles. Yeah. Oh, I was sweating so hard. So the next 5 hours
So
trying
what
to
did you
fix it.
do? Were you able
Oh,
to tone it down?
yeah, you try to do everything. You're just exhausted. You're sweating. You're smiling. You put the music. You order food. You do this, and you do whatever you can do, but nothing is really changing because you're so screwed up on this one. Well, she never came back.
Yeah. Oh, that's too bad. That's really funny. That was a good one.
You just have to know that if you do pull out a color tube from something that has /43, make sure you put the color tube back to the 43. And that's yeah,
Okay, so that was the problem.
that
So
was,
so it was the wrong color. It was put in the wrong tube, put in the
yeah,
wrong box.
yeah. It
Oh
was,
my God, that's so
you
funny.
know,
Okay, so I promised listeners that we would go back and we would tie a bow on or connect the dots to the oh my God,
Airstream.
Airstream. Okay, so let's go back to that story. So you had sold your salons in Boston. You went to Seattle to visit someone, right? With your husband, you and Bill.
So my husband and I and my two dogs went to visit Gabby and Brandon and Will living in Tacoma, Washington.
Okay.
And we wanted to do cross country. And so we went over and we liked it. It was summertime back in Seattle, so it's beautiful in the
Nice. Yeah.
summer. And we said, we've been staying with my daughter for a couple of weeks. Let's get our own place. So we did. We rented a place for 3 months and we loved it so much. We said, let's just rent it for a year. And so we rented for a year, and COVID happens,
Yep. Boom.
and boom, everything got shut down. So what do we do? And I said to my husband, I said, there's no way we can get stuck in an apartment here for a month or 2 months or 3 months. We don't know anybody. It was really that time. So we end up buying an Airstream, which is a big bullet, silver bullet, and we said, let's go for 3 months to 6 months until this thing is over. And at that time, we had a show called Huddle Time with Ronit.
Okay.
That was the first, I don't know if you remember Stream Yard or Yard Stream. That's how we started it. And we said, let's build a studio in the Airstream and take it on the road. So we did. And we ended up being on the road for 2.5 years.
Whoa, that's wild.
With a
2.5 years. And then you eventually ended up in Sarasota, Florida, right? That's where you are now?
Yeah, we did.
Where was most of that 2.5 years spent?
We went from Seattle all the way to Sarasota and everything in between for 2.5 years, 2 times.
Wow.
So I can tell you what's my favorite places in this country.
Please.
I love Montana. Montana is amazing. You were talking about Park City in one of your podcasts, and I love it. Utah is amazing.
Yeah.
Utah is amazing. It's gorgeous. The coast, all the way Oregon coast is so beautiful. So those are the places that are my favorite. Ouray, Colorado, is
Wait, Ouray? What is
Ouray.
Ouray?
It's very close to Telluride,
Okay.
Colorado. It's coal mine city. It's magnificent, just so beautiful, and you wouldn't know unless you off the roads. So we did a
Right.
lot of that with the dogs,
Interesting.
and we end up in Colorado for a few months, and then we decided this is it. We don't want to have any cold or rain, and so we end up buying a house here in Sarasota, and we love it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Very cool. I mean, that's kind of like the dream. I mean, a lot of these places, I'm born and raised in the United States, and a lot of people are in the United States, but we don't get to see a lot of the actual country. I've never been to Montana, never been to any of those states. I've never been to Idaho. I've never been to those places, and I hear they're so beautiful.
they're amazing, Eric. You know what's really cool about traveling like this? You meet an extraordinary people. You do. You meet people like us that want to travel, and they can work because we work the whole time. It's not like we didn't, even during COVID. But it's amazing. Utah has so many national deserts that are unbelievable. Where you are, where do you base off, Eric? Which
Well, I'm in the San Fernando Valley, just north of LA.
So yeah, Joshua Tree.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've been there,
What do you think?
but for the first time like last year.
Yeah.
I mean, just got there.
Okay, so what are we gonna do to get you there? Do you want to join us?
Well,
Come on, join us. We're
I
taking off in 2 weeks.
oh my God, I wish. I mean, what you're talking about is a retired sort of a
No,
thing. One day when I retire, I
no,
can't even imagine what that's going to be like. But
no. We do
yeah, I
this.
mean, I can't, like, I have to be at the office here for Salon Republic every day at like 8. I leave at 6, like I I lead a life that, does not allow for stuff like that.
Oh, you and I need to talk off the air.
Oh,
There's a
they
way.
depend upon me, Ronit. I have a job to do.
Oh, I hear that all the time, Eric. We gotta get Eric 2.0.
Oh, maybe, maybe. Well, look, this has been a great conversation. Loved getting to know you, loved hearing your story, and I love the fact that you're bringing all this knowledge and mentorship to the industry. So, for the listeners, I say to you, thank you very much, Ronit.
Eric, thank you so much for having me and letting me tell my story. And hopefully anyone that is resonate with them, come talk to me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.